Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Matt Condrin. My project is titled Awareness is Key, Gauging the Level of Awareness of Food Insecurity Issues. My biggest passion in the field of environmental studies lies within food systems, so this project was very exciting and interesting for me. So the biggest problem that I wanted to face head on was that food insecurity has become a huge crisis in the United States. An overwhelmingly large portion of the population faces some form of food insecurity, whether they realize it or not. Which is estimated at roughly 23 million low-income households, equating to roughly 20 to 25% of households in the United States, which is also equal to just 1 in 4 households. The main issues regarding food insecurity is that the level of awareness is so unknown. And I know this because I, for one, was simply unaware of the seriousness of food insecurity issues before diving into this project. So in addition to the analysis on food levels of food insecurity issues, I wanted to explore the idea of gleaning. For those that don't know, the dictionary definition of gleaning is to extract and collect gradually from various sources. Gleaning originated before modernized farming took place, when farmers would pick their foods but leave the crops that didn't look sellable in the fields. People would then scavenge the farms and pick the leftover foods to provide for themselves, and this is the act of gleaning. It's sort of evolved today into a more organized practice. Where gleaning organizations such as City Fruit, the organization that I interned for this past summer, will harvest crops in residential neighborhoods, public parks, and public orchards. And they would typically all this food that would go to waste unless harvested by these organizations. These foods will then be donated to various food donation programs. So then that leads into my research questions for this project. First question being, what is the level of awareness surrounding the food insecurity crisis? And the second being, could gleaning potentially be a solution to decrease food insecurity issues? See this first image here? This image shows me and my coworker harvesting an apple tree over in Ballard. We used the ladders and the pole pickers to get to the top of the tree to maximize its output. So as I mentioned, I interned at City Fruit Seattle, which is a gleaning organization that aims to minimize the amount of fresh fruit going to waste and instead providing it to those who need it. I worked on the harvest team. So my role was to harvest fruit trees and plants. And while working with them, I interviewed 3 of their clients with the attempt to gain an understanding of their perception of food insecurity issues. In addition to that, I performed lots of research of scholarly articles to gain more knowledge and insights. So the results of my project show that while many people care about wasting food, they aren't exactly the most knowledgeable of the crisis occurring in our society. As discovered through the interviews I conducted, the quotes here from my interview transcripts are shown. One of the more interesting quotes that stood out to me reads, "The primary concern of the hundreds of pounds of hundreds of pounds of fruit going to waste." This quote acknowledges the desire to not waste fruit, but doesn't give indication on the fact that so many struggle with not having access to healthy foods. Through scholarly research, it was supported that gleaning initiatives cannot be deemed a viable solution to the ongoing food insecurity issues, but rather a very immediate and short-term fix. This is due to the fact that crop yield is extremely variable and cannot be relied on for sufficient production, and the fact as well that it is not a year-round process. The main solution that I determined through my research is that a severe reform of our food systems economy is necessary. This could look like subsidizing farmers so that produce can be sold at a lower price without them having to lose profit. Could also look like improving our food assistance programs, which would also be very beneficial, or even perhaps a controlled market for produce. All I know is that it's imperative that fresh produce becomes more affordable in stores so that everyone can have easier access to it. So then that leads into what is the significance of this project and why does it matter? Well, for one, you or someone you know may be experiencing food insecurity issues. I know that as a college student, I struggle to afford to eat healthy at times. And there's plenty of nights that I'm eating frozen or processed foods because it's all that I can get my hands on. Getting a grip on food insecurity issues will restore a sense of order in our society and will make people much more well off. In addition to that, we want to create a much more sustainable food system going forward. So then what are the next steps? Well, first, it is essential to spread awareness of food insecurity issues. I ask that you share facts with people, ask for help, volunteer, anything to get people more knowledge on this issue. Secondly, donate your leftover food instead of throwing it away. That could be a great meal for someone else. Or if you have foods that you know you probably won't consume, donate them. And lastly, we need to push for an economic reform of our food system, which will surely be a slow process. This last image here shows me and my coworkers after a productive harvest day where we totaled over 250 pounds of apples, which all got donated to a food bank. And then that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for being here with me. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you.